thank you for the invitation, the opportunity to be here this evening. My name is Johnny Kincaid. I am married to the founder of Chemo Buddies, Jill Kincaid. And since we are married, it is my job to speak and her job to interrupt and interject wherever she deems necessary. Those of you who are married in the room fully understand that statement. First of all, the reason that I'm here is to talk to you about why Chemo Buddies needs your support. First of all and foremost, we are a local organization that exists solely on local contributions. Everything comes from the local community. We don't receive any grants whatsoever. You know, you can get grants if you're for cancer-related things, if you're in the research field, or if you're in the education field, you know, reminding people to get colonoscopies and that kind of fun stuff. But if you're in the treatment room helping people out, there just aren't any grant funds available for that. So we rely completely on the generosity of the community and people just like you to help make Chemo Buddies operate. Now, Jill's going to share with you very quickly here the story of how Chemo Buddies got its start.
In 2006, my sister Karen was diagnosed with cancer. She went through the treatment, she went in remission, everything was good. But in 2010, her cancer came back. It was metastatic, which means it's everywhere, and we knew that it could not be cured, and it was very aggressive. And I said, Karen, I know, I've heard the speech, you don't want to be a burden, we can't come, we can't help, but this time you have to let us in. And it is the first argument I ever won with my older sister, and if any of you have older sisters or older brothers that are really bossy, you know what I'm saying here. So I became her companion for every doctor's appointment and every chemo, every radiation, everything. And she called me her chemo buddy. But the first thing that she noticed was how fast that treatment day would go by versus the first time she was in chemo. The little beep would go off and she'd say, I cannot believe we're done already. And granted, this is after 7.5 hours in that room because most treatments run between 4 and 6 hours. And she just started noticing suddenly all those people that were alone. And she said, we've got to change this. There's no TVs. They're either looking at the window or the wall. They need other people in here to come alongside them and help. And sitting there in chemo, we wrote the program for Chemo Buddies and what that program is today. Back to you, Johnny.
All right. Well, all right. What happened as a result of that time in the chemo treatment room was that, well, first of all, unfortunately, Karen lost her battle with cancer in July of 2011. Just a few weeks after that, Jill contacted the folks at OHA about starting Chemo Buddies, and she incorporated it at that time. As a nonprofit.
That's the interesting part.
Yes. So from that point, though, what's happened is a transformation in that chemo treatment room. That it went from being a place that's very quiet and very somber to being a place that's actually full of liveliness and there's laughter in the room, and it's a completely different place, and that's because of the wonderful volunteers that come in and share their time with those chemo patients. We also found ourselves in demand to not just do the one facility, and we started growing very, very quickly. And Chemo Buddies is now in every cancer treatment facility in this area. It's 5 in total. It includes Deaconess Downtown, Chancellor Center, OHA, the Veterans Administration, and Community Methodist Hospital in Henderson. And each one of those facilities has a group of volunteers that are dedicated to serving the needs of those patients. Now, what happens when we're in the room? That's kind of the important part, right? So what winds up happening is that the first thing off that people notice is newcomers are really nervous. They're scared to death, man. That diagnosis of cancer is one of the spookiest things that you could possibly imagine. So along comes one of our volunteers in the bright yellow apron. They show up with a bag of goodies and blanket for the chemo patient on their very first day. The bag includes all kinds of things. One of the things in particular that helps meet a need is a port pillow. This fits in between the person's seat belt and their cancer port, their chemo port, to make things more comfortable for them when they're riding in the car. So we try to think in terms of those kinds of needs. Along with that transformation in the room, then, we found that it kind of grew organically into other organizations. We have church groups where women get together and they'll knit hats for us, and kids come together to decorate bags, the goodie bags. We now branched into Student Buddies, which operates within the EVSC schools to give kids a chance to be able to give back to the community as well. So that plus serving snacks and actually encouraging our volunteers to take time to sit down and have a conversation with somebody that doesn't involve their diagnosis. We talk to them about their kids, their grandkids, everything else going on in the world. But we talk to them about everything except their cancer diagnosis. Now here's why we need that financial support. Because each one of these first day kits that we provide costs about $30 each. We see 2,500 new patients every year in the treatment facilities here. 2,500. That's a total of $75,000 just in doing that initial outreach to the folks. So you can see that this is something that we have to kind of be in a continuous mode of raising funds for in order to keep providing this service for the people who are in those treatment rooms. So that's, in a nutshell, very, very quickly what we do. And we do it all completely through folks in the community just like you, without any outside funding or grants coming from outside of our community. Sean is one of the folks that is here to share with you about his Chemo Buddies story.
Thanks for having me. I'm Sean Nelson. I'm a founder and president of Core Strong Incorporated. And my wife was a patient at OHA for about 14 months. And I did the best I could to be there. And while I was there, we noticed all these people running around with aprons, throwing towels and cookies at people. And no one got hurt, but helping them out, sitting down and telling jokes, telling stories. And we did a little bit of research and found out that these were Chemo Buddies, which obviously we had never heard of. For years we did different walks and charity foundation raises and sent checks into people, and we never saw the money affect anybody we knew. And this was something really local, tangible. You walk in, you could see these people making somebody's seemingly bad day a lot better. And because I couldn't take off work every time she had chemo, I knew that she had the Chemo Buddies to rely on. And what they do helped inspire me to start my own not-for-profit. And how and why they do it compelled us to actually donate 10% of our proceeds to them. So with a full heart, I ask you guys to cast your vote with the Chemo Buddies.
Thanks, Sean. All right, so very, very quickly, how many of you have anybody that you're acquainted with who's been through chemotherapy? All right, here's what I'm going to challenge you to do real quickly. Before you make up your mind for the final time here, I want you to take your cell phone and text that person and ask them about the experience with Chemo Buddies in the treatment room. And if you don't see words like transformational, if you don't see words about compassion and caring, I'd be really shocked. Because that's what it is all about for Chemo Buddies, is showing compassion, to show hope to people who are in a situation where they feel utterly hopeless, and to give them a sense that they're not in it alone. Because our whole founding was based on the principle that no one should have to go through cancer treatment or chemotherapy alone. So we, again, remind you that it's 100% local, and we rely on people like you for our support. Thank you very, very much. God bless.